What's up, everybody? Welcome to GoJo and Golic. I'm Mike Golic Jr. He's Mike Golic Sr. That in the middle is Emerson Latzia coming in and hanging out, holding it down for us in the Boston studios at DraftKings headquarters. We are brought to you by Wrangler, made for the ride of life. Save 15% on your first Wrangler.com order with promo code GOJO15. Got a great show for you guys, as always. Make sure you download, subscribe, rate, and review. We need the reviews. They help. Leave us that 5-star rating. Check us out on the DraftKings YouTube channel, DraftKingsNetwork.com, and Samsung TV Plus, and others live 8 to 10 a.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday. We have some awesome guests coming up on the show today. Missouri Tigers head coach Eli Drinkwitz going to join us here in a little bit, as well as Patrick Ewing, former great NBA big man, as we look ahead at the start of the season. But if basketball starting, if it's Wednesday, those circles form the Venn diagram that in the middle gives you a Wilder Wednesday. Charlotte Wilder, ladies and gentlemen, back. Oh, wow, and with graphic support. Wow, that is.
No way.
Wow. Look at you, Charlotte.
Oh my God, I have my own little graphics. It's so cute, you guys.
Wow. Bestie. Oh my God,
Thank
she is
you.
beauty. She is grace. She is back with us after a week off, gallivanting around Los Angeles last week with the Dan Le Batard crew and her partner Amin El Hassan, who you can hear her with on Oddball, wherever you get your podcasts. Except for every day except for Monday out here.
Thank you.
And
Every day except for Monday.
I said partner, and Charlotte winced because she's a wife guy now, and she realized the phrasing of that
My
was
microphone,
troubling.
I'm holding my microphone because this is a professional operation here, and it fell onto my lap right as you said her partner, and I was like, well, the face applies to no. Amin is my partner in basketball and all things oddball, and I just appreciate you saying that, when everyone thinks of basketball and Patrick Ewing, the next thing they think is like Charlotte Wilder.
Well,
for sure.
Of course. I mean,
Yes.
isn't that a given? I mean, that's known by everybody.
I mean, you
correct?
said it. You said it. So
Yeah.
thank you so much. I'm so excited that I can't believe the season's actually starting. We launched a basketball show in July. On the tail end of for Summer League, which is anybody who knows the basketball schedule knows that means then there's nothing.
Yeah.
And so I'm just really excited. Last night I had a little tear in my eye watching all the action, being like, oh my God, I actually can have a take based on something I have seen. It's incredible.
You only had to wait like 4 months after you started this thing, right? That's normally when you start football shows, new football shows. You got to start it by camp when July's going on before preseason. You don't really think of basketball starting then, but hey, if anybody can pull it off, Charlotte, you can.
Thank you so much. I actually have to say it's been great to get the reps in during the off season. So I actually ended up being proved wrong that it actually is a very good idea if you're going to start a basketball show to do it before when you can ramp up into the season. But yeah, I'm very excited.
Charlotte Wilder, a lot like Nikola Jokic, out here putting up the work in the gym, maybe not on the basketball court, but we can debate that as we saw opening night with the Nuggets and the Lakers last night that went on. We had the Warriors and the Suns, where I learned already in one night of NBA action one very important fact for the 2023-24 NBA season that I'm excited to share. But guys, the Philadelphia Phillies really went out there and laid an egg. Sad fart noise to end the season for one of baseball's most fun teams during the postseason. They had been mashing dingers at an unprecedented rate. And then when I saw that Nick Castellanos had gone 0 for 21 since his awesome home run many moons ago, I realized that, oh, wait a minute, I think I was trading on currency from the Phillies from a before time, before the Arizona Diamondbacks decided to squeeze the life and the offense out of them. Ginkel owned them during that game last night. And now, Dad, you as a part-time resident of the Valley of the Sun, get the home team heading to the World Series right now. The Diamondbacks are getting set to face the Texas Rangers in the World Series.
First on Castellanos, what you said about him, watching him bat last night was like watching the kid in Little League that you have to play 2 innings and has to bat once.
Me.
Right? It was tough to watch. I mean, he wasn't even getting near a ball. I mean, striking out, it was really tough to watch. But it's not on him. It's on everybody. You look at Schwarber, Turner, and Harper, 1, 2, 3 in your lineup, go 1 for 11. Schwarber, the only one with a hit there. Give credit to the Arizona bullpen, 5 innings, a 1-hit ball. I mean, the Phillies had 10 runs in game 2, and then 3 of the losses after that. They scored 4 total. So, and the debate is collapse or comeback. Did Philadelphia collapse or Arizona come back? I'm always giving the team winning this the credit for what they were able to do, what Arizona was able to do. 12th best record in Major League Baseball, underdogs for Milwaukee, the Dodgers, and Arizona, and coming from behind and winning those. I mean, just incredible what they've done. What it also does, it makes the World Series, unfortunately, maybe not as watchable to the casual fan because it's Arizona against Texas. You have no Phillies, you have no Houston for everybody to hate, to continue hating. But I'm going to watch it. It's a World Series, a freaking World Series, man. So I'm looking forward to it. And kudos to Arizona, who just heard everybody, Charlotte, throwing darts at them. They shouldn't be here. Well, they're here. They're just going to be a speed bump on somebody else's road to the World Series, especially when it got to Philadelphia and they became, such a great story became. They were in the World Series last year, but everybody wanted them back again this year to try and get the win. And here's the little engine that could, those Diamondbacks getting it done.
I know. Well, I mean, it's just incredible. They're such a young team, too, which I think is part of it that's so fascinating because it's like, could we be on the precipice of an Arizona Diamondbacks dynasty? Like, I don't want to get ahead of myself here, but I was bummed for Philly. I have to tell you, I think I took great joy in that team as someone who sort of tuned in the postseason mostly this year, but I was aware of them all year. Like they were such a force for that city. I think it was really fascinating how they became the team that people in Philadelphia, some younger fans who were like, we don't want the reputation of throwing batteries. We want to create a more loving, supportive environment. They really latched onto this team. It is a very Philly, it's like Philly, the can't have nice things feeling.
Yeah.
I feel like some of that, hear me out. This might be a terrible thing to say. I feel like some of those younger fans who didn't want the throwing batteries reputation might now understand how one can develop the cynicism and heartbreak necessary to turn into a hurt person who hurts people.
Yeah, this is the Joker origin story for a new generation of Philadelphia fans. Battery free since 23, but with plenty of ammunition, Charlotte, like you mentioned, for sadness. In the last year, the Phillies lost the World Series, the Eagles lost the Super Bowl, the Philadelphia Union lost the MLS Cup, the 76ers lost in the conference semis, and now the Phillies lost in the NLCS. And that's almost the worst version of it. I think most fan bases can take some level of ineptitude because your body goes numb when you suck for too long. But in this case, when you get this close, painfully close, so many times over and over again in rapid succession, it is the hope that kills you, Ted Lasso once said, and could not be truer terms. So you're right, Charlotte. There might be a few more people all of a sudden eyeing Santa Claus with a little bit of venom in their hearts.
Emerson, is there joy for you? Because Boston's used to closing these deals and having parades all over the place. And as Mike just mentioned, Philadelphia teams losing one after another to not have these parades. Do you, as a Boston fan, kind of look toward Philly and say, basically, ha ha?
Yeah, I think most people here in this market have just been more concerned with the Red Sox getting a new president of baseball operations, which they finally landed yesterday, and former Red Sox player Craig Breslow. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, for me personally, like being here in this market, I didn't grow up a Red Sox fan. I've lived here for 8 years. I know Charlotte has ties to the area, so maybe she can speak more to this. But listen, I don't care about national TV ratings. I really don't. I like to see new faces on the biggest stage. And so, yeah, more markets winning. I think more fans will be falling in love with the sport and local fans. I think it's good for baseball. I really do.
So I think that's the question in all of this, and I saw this kind of dividing the timeline last night is it okay to not be super excited for this World Series matchup? And I think it can be. Like, initially, on face value, as someone that likes Charlotte, I parachute in for postseason baseball. I pay attention during the season the same way that a lot of national shows do, and I go on about my business. And I had a lot of fun this postseason. It's been really good. So many of the changes structurally Major League Baseball made to the pitch clock and everything around that have made it a much more, profitable experience for Major League Baseball, it looks like from the outside. But in general, had a good time with this. And part of that was you did have the Astros are a team with so much background that everybody kind of looks at them and you feel something, like Dad said. The Phillies, on the other spectrum, the positive end, make you feel something with the personality and the way that they played the game with what Bryce Harper is to that team. There's not a lot of feelings evoked by the Rangers and the Diamondbacks for the vast majority of people, which is fine to say that's not excited. Where it gets intolerable for a lot of people, and I understand, is when you immediately become a TV executive and you say, well, Major League Baseball's got to be ticked about this because they're going to have poor ratings, or you start to do what we all do during the summer and try and fix Major League Baseball and say, this is their problem, this is how we got to this point, instead of just saying, hey, sometimes them's the breaks. Some people are going to like this. Baseball diehards and people are going to tune in. I'm still going to watch because it's the World Series, but I am not nearly as excited about this as I was going to be for the Phillies, and I don't think that, Charlotte, makes me a bad guy.
No, it doesn't. I also think that every team that has a backstory, every team that has a narrative that you're excited for, every team that you are like, oh my God, are they going to do it, has to start somewhere. And so this could be the beginning of that. You know, I was sort of joking about a Diamondbacks dynasty just because that's immediately where everybody goes when anybody makes it. It's like, oh, is this the start of something? But it could be the start of something. And I think in order to have villains, in order to have heroes, in order to have people you want to see in those top spots, they have to get there for the first time. And I think it could be really interesting to see this develop over the next couple years into something that people have very strong opinions about. I think it would be really fun if the Diamondbacks were a team that a lot of people either hated or loved. Like that, I think introducing new characters into the narratives is always really exciting. And at the same time, I do think it's allowed to be a little bit of a bummer in that first season. You know, it's like when you're watching a show and it's in like its millionth season, and all of a sudden someone new comes in and like the main characters don't get as much time, and you're annoyed. You're like, why is this a capsule episode? Like, what are we doing here? Why do I have to pay attention to this? And then you're like, oh wait, actually I am very invested. So you just got to give it that kickstart.
That's the perfect analogy. It's like when the first cast of Glee all of a sudden went to college and I had new guys going into high school. And I'm like, I don't know if I trust you guys yet here. I don't know what your vocal range.
Can you guys really carry this show? I don't know. But to Mike, to your point, it's absolutely okay to not be as invested or interested, or maybe you watch it a little more casually, you know, a little more channel flipping than normal. I mean, that's fine. You know, I mean, the Rangers in Arizona don't care. I mean, as they're starting to call the Diamondbacks, they're calling them the answer backs. You know, with they just keep answering the bell here.
We got to come up with a better nickname.
With a better,
for them, by the way.
I do agree with that. I mean, again, they won back in 2001, and Texas is one of 6 teams that has not won a World Series. So, you know, for lack of a better term, now Arizona's 26 years they've been around. This is the, you know, they have a chance to win 2 World Series, so that's pretty impressive. But it's. I like I said, we're going to watch, but we may watch less or more casually than we would have. But for Arizona, to your point, Charlotte, I mean, listen, Corbin Carroll, the young kid, the rookie, just taking the postseason by storm. He goes, 3 for 4 last night?
Yeah, and he had been terrible in this series, Mike. He'd been terrible up until last night.
Terrible against lefties. Terrible, and last night he gets a little revenge against lefties, and also has a couple of stolen bases as well. But that's the other thing. They have a somewhat young team as well. So we'll see. Kudos to them. Philly has to be bummed. I mean, they were living large with the shirts they're making, the videos they're making, you know, all the people showing up at the games. I mean, everybody thought it was kind of foregone conclusion. They just, you know, forgot to do the most important thing, was to win 4 games.
How about the Diamond back-to-backs? Because they won back-to-back in Philadelphia.
Yeah, that's better than the answer backs.
Okay.
That's way better than the answer backs. No offense to whoever penned that objectively terrible name.
It doesn't really roll off the tongue.
Better. Yeah, you did better. So I
was gonna say, I was here for 5 minutes.
Yeah,
so
good point.
Listen, me, casual baseball fan coming in to improve the sport here. I don't know if I've done as much for the interest in the sport or as a rallying cry for the Diamondbacks than Mad Dog Russo. I'm sure you guys saw this like everybody else.
Yeah.
But we've got this footage of Christopher Mad Dog Russo, obviously longtime gas bag. You see him every Wednesday on First Take. And he was the one, if there was bulletin board material to be had for this Diamondback squad, it came courtesy of Mad Dog. Here it is.
I'll say this right now, and Bob Raceman, write it down. if they win the next 2 days, they win the next 2 games and win this series in 7 games, if they win, I will retire on the spot.
Like,
Oh, well,
so
listen.
what I'm amazed in, and shout out to Doggy on that one. I'm sure he's still going to show up on the first take desk today, and I'm sure he's going to have some clever answer for it. But I do appreciate. This seemed like a really high leverage spot to bet your career. Like, I don't know about you guys. I'm going pretty far down on the rung.
Well,
like, if you asked me for an NFL team that I was comfortable betting my career that they wouldn't make it to the Super Bowl at a certain juncture, I'd go pretty far down on the rung just to make sure. And he did it with a team that was in the NLCS. I can respect that weirdly.
Yeah, listen, he and we all know he's not retiring. I mean, you know, people talk about, you know, me and Greeny, Mike and Mike being this, you know, thing that got talk radio going. No, this was Mike and the Mad Dog, right? I mean, that was this guy and his partner years ago on the Fan. You know, that's what got this going. This is classic radio stuff, right? I'm going to retire if this happens. I'm going to walk 300 miles to this city if this city beats our city. You know,
I was waiting for him
classic.
to say he was going to eat his hat.
Yeah,
Hear me out.
It's classic radio stuff here. I mean, he is not retiring. So
Hear me out, though. I think he should. If I were, if I were him,
he could. That's for sure with the money he made.
Yeah, and I had a great career, made good money, had was already a legend, and this was how I could go out and like just cement it at like that would be the all-time baller move to bet your career on a team not making it to the World Series, and everyone's like, oh, but he's not, and then be like, you know what? I'm a man of my word. See ya.
Build him a statue. Build him a statue outside
so
Chase
cool.
Field.
See,
Yes.
I do, Charlotte, what you just described, and I've realized now, this is the McRib protocol, where you have to take it away for a little bit, and you've got to retire it for a little while, and then you bring it back. And again, First Take seems like the kind of great showmanship that would understand and lean into this. All right, I'm sure Mad Dog has like X amount of days he's supposed to do for them and a contract and all these things, legality.
And getting hella good money to do it.
Yeah, no, getting dumb paid on this. Which, hey, listen, the wise man once said, "Get it how you live."
Senior just say hella good. I think
hella good, hella good.
Yeah.
Move to California.
How do you do,
Cal
fella
Dad
goods?
has entered the chat. But you go McRib protocol where everyone agrees, all right, we're going to have Mad Dog retire. And then in like 8 weeks, when all of a sudden we get, like, let's say we hold him until December, we get to NBA Christmas Day. And then all of a sudden we're in the midst of the NFL's late season and Mad Dog comes bursting back onto the First Take set. And all of a sudden the McRib is back.
No. Just straight up retire. Breach of contract, all of it. Hang it up. Gone forever. That's the last segment he ever does. Mad
Nasty
Dog.
legal battle.
Listen, that would be amazing. And I'm with you, Charlotte. Not going to happen. And one of the other reasons, Mike, he's not going to go away for 8 weeks. It's football season. And let's be honest.
Hey,
you know,
Mad Dog's got enough gummies and free time to get himself through it.
Listen, I agree. The dude could stop working today and never have a worry in his life, but he ain't gonna. He is not going to.
You know what? Charlotte, I think you're onto something here. And I think more people need to do this. We see this in sports all the time where at the end of a player's career, they'll start to either bounce around or do the Brett Favre, consider retirement a bunch and then sort of retire, or do the Tom Brady, retire for 40 days and Bible numbers and then come back and try and make it happen one more again. And so I feel like more broadcasters need to lean into this. You got deep enough bench on First Take. Now that you got Shannon Sharp over there, you can invite a couple of more people into the fold. And all of a sudden, you put Doggy on ice for a little bit. You put him in the cryo chamber like he's Captain America.
If I had the money, I would 1,000% make this gamble. But I don't, so I will be here for the foreseeable future.
That would be the thing. If you're ready to walk away, if it's kind of in your mind anyway, and you say, you know what, if I go out on this shield, then so be it. And it happens, it would be something if he just retired today, but I'm not seeing it.
The Diamondbacks are the funniest team he could do this for, just saying.
That's true.
Put it on the poll. Are the Diamondbacks the funniest team that could retire Christopher Mad Dog Russo? Welcome back to GoJo and Golic. Mike Golic Jr., Mike Golic Sr., Emerson Latzia, Charlotte Wilder. We are 4 wide here, hoping to talk in about 10 minutes to Missouri Tigers head football coach Eli Drinkwitz, as they're in the midst of a really impressive season right now. 7-1, second in the SEC East. You got a bye week before Georgia. It's all starting to align here, so we'll see how he's feeling about that. And on the sign stealing front, we also got to get to that with our friend Charlotte Wilder as Michigan continues to just have more and more sources willing to come out here and try and throw fuel onto the fire. But Charlotte, you do work a basketball podcast, again, Oddball with Amin El Hassan, and do a great job covering that. You mentioned you've now got real basketball to react to. We had 2 games last night, and I learned already an important factoid about the 2023 NBA season through one of these games. My favorite thing at the beginning of every sports season is old faces in new places. And I did not realize that Eric Gordon played for the Phoenix Suns now. I was shocked and amazed and overjoyed to find out that he's 16 years into this, still has a home in the NBA, and the fact that he is my age. He's 34 years old, but I used to routinely go and play NBA 2K in college, and Eric Gordon was a player then that would routinely give me buckets when he was a member of the Clippers. I had a buddy of mine who was a linebacker who used to play with his team on easy mode, and he, before I would come over to his dorm, would put my team on all NBA mode, so it was incredibly difficult to shoot. And Eric Gordon was the bane of my existence because he couldn't miss, and for 2 years I had no idea that I was being gamed. And so Eric Gordon is an inextricable part of my basketball brain now, and I'm happy to see he's got a new home.
Wow.
I'm so happy to. I really do love when certain players occupy certain space in your brain for a reason that has nothing to do with anything other than like a thing that happened to you and made its mark for whatever reason. So I'm happy to hear that Eric Gordon is one of your guys, Mike.
It was a delightful experience, Charlotte. Less so for the Lakers last night. A delightful experience.
I mean,
year 21 for LeBron James, Charlotte. What did you make? I know trying to read too much into any one basketball game is probably a fool's errand, but watching him try and talk to D'Angelo Russell about getting him the ball, only to watch D'Angelo Russell openly shoot a 3 in his face in the exact situation he called for, feels like a level of disrespect that would not have happened 10 years ago.
I mean, I was stunned. I mean, I was and I wasn't. Like, it's D'Angelo. I think that of all the people on that team who would do that coming back into the LA market, that's a good way for him to do it. I do think, though, that watching LeBron, my takeaway was holy cannoli, to quote Klay Thompson in the 2022 finals. He's still unbelievable. He's still so good. And I know there's a lot being made of Darvin Ham Lakers head coach saying, oh, well, he's going to play approximately 29 minutes instead of a full game. And everyone's like, oh, well, is he slipping? And it's like, he's been doing this for 21. This is his 21st year. And I still there were jaw-dropping moments last night. And I think they kept it. I mean, they came back. There were times where I was like, oh my God, the Lakers are creeping up. I didn't ever think they were going to win. And I think the Nuggets are one of my other main takeaways was, oh my God, the Nuggets are still unbelievable. And they look like a team that's played together before, because guess what? Yeah. They won the finals. They're a homegrown team. They lost Bruce Brown, and yes, Christian Brown is now being asked to fill those shoes, which I think are a lot bigger than a lot of people realized. But they still looked great out there. And the Lakers looked like a team that has not played together. They looked like a team that didn't really know what they were doing, maybe by accident, and sometimes, like D'Angelo, on purpose. And I think that sort of disrespect internally after having to watch the Nuggets get their championship rings is like, I don't think that was a great night for LeBron. I don't think, if I'm LeBron, I am leaving that stadium pretty pissed off.
Well, I mean, every year they're tinkering with the lineup, right? Because they're not sure how much longer LeBron's going to play. So they're trying to build another championship team around him, and they keep changing the pieces. So it looks like they haven't played together, and you're playing the defending champs, who certainly look like they've played together. LeBron, I'm with you, though, Charlotte, on LeBron. He played 29 minutes. He averaged 35 last year, and the plan is 28 to 30 minutes, which obviously is going to be give and take depending on how he feels and the situation. He did lead him in scoring in 21, gave him 21, 10, and 5 rebounds and assists. So I mean, he is still looking good. Taurean Prince, I thought, a guy coming over from Minnesota, was 4 or 6 from threes. He had 18 points in this one. So that's an interesting piece of the puzzle to keep an eye on. But, even LeBron has basically anointed, this is Anthony Davis's team. He's going to lead us, which is great when you have 17 points in the first half, but then you can't get shut out in the second half and go 0 for 6. And when Jokic is guarding you, you can't get a bucket in the second half. So that's going to be interesting there. I'm with you. They closed the gap some. They were losing by double digits, as much as 18, closed the gap some, but I never really thought they were going to come back. What's interesting to me, Jokic casually throws down a triple-double, right? What I did not realize is he is now 1 triple-double behind LeBron. Leading the way overall is Russ Westbrook with 198, Oscar Robertson has 181, Magic 138, and then LeBron 107 and Jokic 106. So they're that close to one another. I did not realize that. And I loved Jokic after talking to the TNT group, and especially Shaq. But they were asking him about his off-season workouts, and he said, I was in the gym every single day. I never missed a workout in the gym. But then he said, no, I may have not been on the court as much as I should have been. So like you were talking about, Mike, we were talking off air, you wonder if he's starting to lean into this a little bit as, yeah. Basketball is kind of my pastime thing. After horses and family, I go out and just play, and I'll do this for a little while.
Yeah, Charlotte, I know you were courtside there trying to show off some horses to Nikola Jokic to see if you could get him to bite in the NBA's preseason. But part of me obviously believes he loves horses, drinking, and carrying on. He seems like one of the most balanced professional athlete superstars that we've ever had. But when I heard that, I was like, okay, I'm not here to body shame anyone, but Nikola Jokic does not look like a guy that was living in the gym 6 days a week and seeing the results that would come from that. And his game on opening night looked like a guy who's a well-oiled basketball machine still. So I think maybe he might be a little bit more basketball focused than he lets on, which is cool.
I think he very much enjoys leaning into this role. I think it's like when a kid learns that they say something by accident and their parents think it's really funny, and then they keep saying it, and you're like, okay, well, that's adorable. I think Jokic cares very much. I don't think you can reach that level of greatness by not caring and not working your butt off. And there's a level of pure ability from Jokic that only works when it's coupled with insane work ethic. Like watching him just body his way to the rim last night was it was remarkable. It was like watching Jason Kelsey hold off a defender. Like it was really a physical experience. And And then he comes up with this like unbelievable grace. And every time that he's on the court and there's a rebound to be had, what am I?
To be had.
19th century poet. To be had, he gets it. And I find that I find it very comforting. I love watching him. I think there's a rhythm to his play that is very underrated. But yeah, I think he is very much leaning into this bit that he started. And maybe it's true. And if it's true, then that is absolutely remarkable.
I think he is going to work really hard early on. Like he's going to win like his 6 MVPs and 3 NBA championships, and then he is going to retire early so he can spend more time with his horses.
That's the thing, because
I forgot
I forgot who was saying it. They were saying because he barely leaves the ground.
Yeah,
he doesn't fly through the air a lot, that he could last a long, long time. And Mike, you and I were talking about this yesterday. I could see him in a couple of years. It doesn't sound like Charlotte agrees with us. A couple of years saying, I'm good. We got a couple NBA titles. I got a couple MVPs. I'm just going to go concentrate on my horses with my hundreds of millions of dollars.
He's like the ruby thief that they describe, or the jewel thief that Alfred describes in the Batman movie, where you have no idea what motivates this man. I have no idea what he actually cares about outside of horse stuff, which is cool, but it makes it impossible to predict what this man's going to do. All I know is last night what he did was make Anthony Davis's early season narrative life a living hell by comparison, and something we are all going to latch onto for the early portion of the season before we hit Christmas. Welcome back to GoJo and Golic. Mike Golic Jr. and Mike Golic Sr. here. And I can't believe we're already in the back half of college football season. It's incredible how quickly it's gone by. And as you look up right now, oh, by the way, the Missouri Tigers having themselves a hell of a year, second in the SEC East right now, heading on to the bye week, coming off a big win over South Carolina. And for more on that, very excited to be joined by their head football coach, Eli Drinkwitz. Coach, good morning. How's the bye week treating you?
Man, good morning. It's awesome. I sure appreciate y'all making me wake up early this morning to get on here. I was planning on sleeping in and taking my kids to school, but when they told me I could get on with the Golics, I was like, forget it. Get out of bed. Let's get to work.
Man, do I not believe that for 1 second, because something you said and is never in the same breath as a coach is sleeping in. Have you ever slept in a day in your life since you started coaching?
Not during the season, only during the off season. And only after really bad losses. You try to be so hungover you don't have to wake up and face it. But other than that, no,
That's something that I think coaches and fans all have in common is trying to be hungover enough to forget the tough ones. But Coach, there haven't been that many of those to come by this season. Year 4 for you here in Missouri. You got the team rolling right now, 7-1. What's been the difference this year? What's been special about this team that's allowed you guys to go out here and have this much success this early?
Man, there's two things. I think the first thing is the leadership. You always talk about captains, but the captains of our team, you're talking about on the offensive side of the ball, Cody Schrader, Division II walk-on, who has incredible grit and toughness, and it kind of is the embodiment of our team right now. Refuses to lose, buys into the culture, does everything he can to put himself in a position to win. You got Brady Cook, who all he wants to do is be our starting quarterback, and has had to face a lot of adversity on social media and just continues to work to improve, ignore the noise. On the defensive side of the ball, Darius Robinson, who decided he could have got drafted last year, late rounds, decided to come back, get better, improve, and try to build his legacy at Mizzou. You got Tyron Hofer, who was a transfer from Florida, one of the best linebackers in the country that really nobody's talking enough about, and came in here, worked his butt off, and got voted as a team captain, only being around this team for 12 months. And those guys are really leading. It's really a player-led team. I think going into year 4, there's more of our kind of guys, just guys who understand and believe in what we're trying to do and the culture. They chose to be here, and I think that's a difference when you go in and take over a program. You got to get more guys that have chosen to be there. And so when you say, hey, we're going 22 periods full gear, there's no like, well, why do we do that? The last guy didn't do that. We don't have any of that this year. It's, hey, whatever we got to do to win, let's go get it done.
Man, I did that 9 years in the NFL. That's what do you mean we're going full pads, 22 periods?
Yeah.
So what we're all going to be talking about, everybody in the media, is, man, if Missouri knocks off Georgia, they can control the East now, and that's going to be obviously the big headline everywhere. How do you handle this, obviously with the bye week and more time, and with your 18 to 22-year-olds on preparing them for this?
Yeah, actually, we talked about this as a team in our team meeting yesterday and in our post-practice comments. Like, all season, all our focus is 1-0. Let's just be 1-0 this week. And when you have that mindset, there's really not any game that's bigger than the next. And no matter what the media narrative is, I asked them, if we win the game in next week, the media narrative is we won the SEC East, which isn't true because you got 3 games left. And if we lose the game, it's the season's over. What a wasted opportunity. Well, that ain't true either because you got multiple games left. And so you got to ignore the noise and focus on just being 1-0. And they're an incredibly talented team, and it'll be a difficult challenge. But I think what happens is you get caught up so much in looking at them instead of looking at you, all right, and realizing we're a pretty good football team too. We haven't played our best ball yet. In order for us to win, we got to go back and fix the things that we can correct during the bye week. And so that's really been our mindset, and our focus is you can't make any game bigger than any other game. You get 12 opportunities. Both of y'all played this game at the highest level. You understand those opportunities are rare. And if you start looking at the schedule like, man, week 8, we got to be at our best. And in week 7, well, we can kind of take that one easy. You're going to set yourself up for some big disappointments.
It's so true. It sounds cliche, but I've told anyone the one good team that I was on in college, that was the mentality, and it makes a world of difference in how you approach that. Coach, you mentioned a lot of what gets talked about in the media. A lot of what's been talked about in the media over the last few days has been everything going on around the sign stealing allegations with the Michigan football program. And I've been amazed seeing the reaction from all the different camps, from fans, from coaches, from former players. As you've watched this unfold and you've seen the public discussing sign stealing, something that most people assume goes on all the time, what was your reaction to all this?
The first reaction was, if it wasn't such a big advantage, why does everybody try to do it? Like we've all openly been like, oh yeah, well, we do that. Well, yeah, because it's a huge advantage. I mean, when you're playing Madden, here's the best way to describe it, or playing college football or Madden or whatever, and your buddy's over there and you're looking over to see what play he picks and you make the perfect call. Does it make a difference? Heck yeah, it makes a difference. And that's what it is. I think that the disappointing thing is maybe what extents it's looking like it went to. Like that to me is where we're taking it too far. But I don't know all the information. I try not to get all my information off of X, the X app, because it's about, 60-40 right or not.
Yeah.
So, and that's on a good day. So we'll see how it all plays out. I would just tell the fans, like, they ought to temper their expectations on any type of punishment, because we're still trying to sort out some basketball stuff from 2017. I don't know that there'll be a quick resolution in anything that goes on, and I don't know what you can do about it other than the public shaming.
I completely agree. Mike and I were talking about that yesterday. We were almost like, okay, what are you going to do? And if they do something, it'll probably be in like 2026. So it doesn't really matter right now. Yeah. So no sense in worrying about that right now. By the way, for the bye week, go ahead, Mike, you wanted to jump in?
No, I was going to ask, like, if you knew that was going on another sideline, or you suspected that, does it change the way you prepare for that week? If you were getting ready to play Michigan now, after all this has come out, are you extra diligent about changing this stuff?
Let's just say, hypothetically, I've played a team that stole signals at an elite level before. Yeah, you have to sugar huddle. I think you saw that in the college football playoff a couple of years. I thought Ryan Day did an excellent job, trying to protect his stuff by quick huddling, sugar huddling, and getting out of formations. And that's really what you got to do. Once you notice that stuff's going on, I think the saddest thing about the whole thing is, since I've been a head coach in 2019, in head coaches meetings, we've asked for communication like the NFL.
Right.
And for whatever reason, it's always been pushed back. We can't do it. We can't afford it. We blah, 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 blah. And we've let the game get away. You go to high school football games, which is what I'm going to do on Thursday and Friday night for recruiting. And they have technology all along the sidelines. They've got film, they've got tablets. You watch the NFL, they got tablets, they got wireless communication. The only one that doesn't is college football. And we're making, I think the playoffs worth $1 billion, but we can't afford to put wireless headsets. I mean, it's mind blowing to me on some of this stuff.
So that's where you think most coaches would like to go, the receivers in the helmet of the quarterback and who's ever calling signals for defense?
Yeah, I think everybody but Michigan probably would want to.
It certainly seems like it at this rate right now. But like you said, we will wait to see all the facts come out on this.
We'll
Coach,
wait a long time.
Yeah, exactly. Coach, we appreciate the time. We know you got a lot of preparation going on during the bye week, but best of luck with the rest of the season. It's been fun to watch, and hopefully we'll get to talk to you again soon.
Yep. Thanks, Ben. Y'all have a good one.
Thanks. Go sleep in.
Yeah,
exactly. Back to bed for Coach Drinkwitz. Getting the off week reps in, Dad.
Well, we said that, yesterday, right? What's going to happen? So the video comes out. What goes on? I'm with him. We talked about that as well. How do you not have receivers in the headsets by now? I don't get that. Is it truly the expense? Is that what's going on for football that makes so much money?
Man, I can't imagine in a world where the biggest bunch of penny pinchers, the NFL owners, would spend on something that college administrators aren't willing to spend on there. I think I've got an analogy that works for the Michigan sign stealing scandal that's going on right now, but I want to hear from Charlotte Wilder. We'll call Charlotte back in and respond to everything that she's seen out of this Michigan program. What's going to happen now and what should happen, as we talked about there with Missouri head coach Eli Drinkwitz.
Yeah, so the evidence against Connor Stallions, the Michigan football staffer at the center of the NCAA investigation into sign stealing allegations, is beginning to mount, according to ESPN's latest report. How about this? Sources telling ESPN on Tuesday that he bought tickets for games at 4 schools outside of the Big Ten that were either in college football playoff contention or playing contenders. And now Deion Sanders is chiming in on this whole situation.
Everyone's trying to get an edge. I mean, everyone's trying to get whatever edge they can. You could have someone's whole game plan. They could mail it to you. You still got to stop it. You still got to stop it. So in football, it's not as pronounced as baseball. If I know a curveball is coming, I got you. You know, with football, I don't give a darn if you know a sweep is coming. You still got to stop it.
He's got a point, doesn't he, GoJo?
Well, so it is interesting because Deion Sanders is uniquely qualified to weigh in on sign stealing in baseball versus football for the obvious two-sport athlete reasons. But Dad, I think that speaks to a lot of athlete brain right there, especially in a sport as physically demanding as football, where, yes, you can know what's coming, but physically you still have to be able to do it. And I'm sure from Deion's perspective, he believes there were very few people physically that even if they knew what he was doing, were going to be able to stop him from doing that on the football field.
Listen, what he said technically is right. I mean, look at the brotherly shove. That walk up to the line of scrimmage, you know they're going to do it. You can't stop it, but you can have you can have the advantage. You do still have to stop it. But going off of what Deion said, if you know a sweep is coming, you still got to stop it. Yeah, but I guarantee you those 2 linebackers aren't getting cut off by the guards, you know, because they're going to lean and know that sweep is coming. They're going to beat those blocks to the second level and have more men over there to stop that sweep. So, and really sign stealing is for the tougher games, right? There's no need to sign steal for a team you're going to beat by 31 unless you just want to practice doing it. It's more for what's going to be the close games. And while, yes, Deion is right, you still have to beat the man in front of you. If you know a play is coming or you know what a coverage is going to be, I'm sorry, that does give you an advantage in a tight, close-knit game. It may not equal success in that play, but it's going to put the odds of success more in your favor.
Yeah, I think we heard Eli Drinkwitz say it with us just a second ago, where if there wasn't an advantage to be gained, people wouldn't be trying so hard to do it.
Right.
But the reaction from player, coach, and fan has been very different. Charlotte, does this feel like a big deal to you? Because I've seen people all over the place on this.
I mean, yes, in that it was so elaborate. I think the way they did it is coming back to bite them more than the fact that they did it. I also think a lot of coaches out there are probably going to be pretty diplomatic in how they talk about this because once again, if it weren't an advantage, everyone wouldn't be trying to do it. Okay, well, who are the people trying to do it? I don't know, but I think there's a lot of dancing around this because it's a glass houses situation in a lot of cases. I also think I don't know, to be honest. I don't know enough about being in that coach's room. I don't know enough about being on the field. I don't know how prevalent all of this is in ways that we don't talk about. Because I wasn't in those buildings. I wasn't in those college football places, but
As like a fan and a competitor, Charlotte, does it bother you from that standpoint? Do you feel like this idea of someone doing something, because again, this is akin to the Patriots, this is akin to the Astros, these are all these things that we've seen in other places as far as trying to find that competitive advantage, and that seems like it would be what it really boils down to is does this seem egregious enough for people to get worked up over because of the competitive imbalance it could potentially present?
I mean, yeah, I think so. Look, if I were an Ohio State fan and I was thinking back to that 2022 game, I would be livid. It's sort of, when I think about how the Astros stole signs and so many of the Dodgers pitchers were the ones who paid the price for it. Like, yes, I do think that upsets me. I think if Michigan were doing this to an extent that it gave them better information than other places. Because what if other places are doing this? They're just not as obvious about it.
Right.
I don't know.
Yes.
So that's
exactly right. Yeah.
That's to me where it becomes like, I don't want to sit here on my high horse and be like, oh, these guys are horrible. Like my team would never do that, when my team might just be better at getting away with it. So
right.
To me is where the line starts to get like, I don't know how worked up I am, except I know that if I were a fan of a team that Michigan beat, having intel, I would be absolutely livid.
Okay, so here's a question then. Is it less of a big deal to fans because Michigan hasn't actually won anything yet, unlike the Patriots and Astros?
Well, I think that's what's kind of interesting at stake now is Michigan has won a lot relative to everyone else in college football, which is, I think, why you've seen so many people willing to be giving of information and be sources on this front. The amount of schools, it sounds like, that are sending in tape from their stadium cameras that show this all taking place reeks of a bunch of people who are kind of sick of this. It is interesting, to Charlotte's point, we haven't heard a ton of it from coaches there. Coach Drink kind of flirted with getting a little barb there in the end, but in general, these guys don't really draw a lot of attention to this stuff. This was, Mike Slive's SEC years ago, where the infighting never really made it to the public, because if people start all of a sudden going and poking around in other buildings, you go looking for trouble, you're probably going to find it in some way, shape, or form in this sport full of hyper-competitive people always trying to find that next thing. Dan, I think just ultimately I've had a hard time getting worked up about this, because we know everybody's trying to do some version of this, and maybe part of the player brain, like Dion, still within me goes, all right, but there's still so many other things. Like, even if you know someone signs, like Coach Drink said, there's still so many other things we can do to counteract. There's still so many other ways to mitigate that you're really talking about potentially very few plays where this is going to, I think, have a true impact on it. Even if we've got all these video where it looks like they're watching the signs on the other side, you can see all that and respond in a way you think is predictive, but you still don't truly know as people change up their signs, who's giving those signs in, all these different things. But I do look at it and say, you got sloppy. This is me in college getting a minor intoxication drinking arrest where, I wasn't technically doing something that other people weren't doing, but I was the one that got caught. Now, the video element of this might rise to something like a DUI, where all of a sudden we look at this and go, all right, you shouldn't have been doing that. You shouldn't have been doing that. And now whatever punishment comes, you're going to have to accept.
And you wonder if they even care, because do you look at what do you look into as you're doing something if you know it's illegal? You say, okay, what's the ramifications of this? What's this going to cost me? And as we've talked about, nothing. The Big Ten can step in here, but they have two forms of punishment: a fine, who cares, and suspensions. You want to talk about if what was out there, the ability to say you are not eligible for the Big Ten championship, that would have some teeth. Okay, that may make you rethink what you're going to do. But the NCAA is gumming everything. There's no teeth. I mean, there's no worry about it. So you wonder, do you try and get away with more because A, is not a lot of teeth to it, and B, as I said, not really jokingly, you may not find out anything till 2026 of them doing anything, i.e. the NCAA basketball situation. So to me, it's as, okay, if you're doing something wrong, you get caught, you got to pay the price, whatever that price is going to be. And we know the price doesn't seem to be much with the NCAA, but change your signs, so they can't be stolen. And for God's sake, get the receivers in the helmet. It's the easiest fix in the world. To sit there and say it's a money issue is a joke, an absolute joke at the NCAA level. So that's the easiest fix of all. But as we found out, Mike, in covering both NFL and pro, it's amazing how the NCAA or college football does not want to emulate the NFL in a number of things. They love to be a little bit different. And this is a dumb thing to be different about.
A great way to be different is listening to Oddball. It's a great podcast. It's a great show. It's on the DraftKings network, and it includes our friend Charlotte Wilder. Charlotte, thanks so much, buddy. We are glad to have you back on a Wilder Wednesday.
Truly, always a pleasure. And I'll see you next week, guys.
You will.
Back
Charlotte.
like she never left. Coming up next, as we digest more of what's gone on as the NBA season is back underway, we've had a lot of focus on the five. Big men are proliferating this sport, incredibly talented ones. We'll talk to one of the best to ever do it, Patrick Ewing, the Hall of Famer, going to join us next to look out into the 2023 NBA season here on GoJo and Golic on the DraftKings Network.
A new era of NBA basketball is ushered in tonight. Victor Wembanyama, hailed as the most hyped NBA prospect since LeBron James, makes his regular season debut tonight in San Antonio against Dallas. The kid wants to play as much as possible. Yes, you gotta love hearing this, possibly every game. every game if there's no excessive risk for my health, he says. Of course, I can't predict the future, but I want to play every single game. Of course, this is not going to happen. For one, 10 players appeared in all 82 games last season. Only one rookie among the bunch. Then there's the fact that he plays for the Spurs, who pioneered the load management movement. The guys, though, are joined right now by another former #1 overall pick. Take it away, gents.
Yes, if we want to learn what it's like to be a big man with expectations going into the NBA, we need look no further than Patrick Ewing, who joins us now here. And Patrick, we appreciate your time this morning. First off, when you hear that, a young player talking about wanting to play all 82 games as if it's some novelty here, do you sort of chuckle given the era of basketball that you came up in?
Oh, definitely. First of all, good morning, guys. And yes, I do chuckle. In my era, you go into this season thinking and believing that you're going to play all 82 games and hopefully make the playoffs. Unless you get injured, but then this era of load management and all the different things, it's like a breath of fresh air hearing him saying that.
So you were back with Charlotte now as a coaching consultant. You were with them 13 to 17, then head coach at your alma mater at Georgetown. So you're dealing with these kinds of players. So how is it from now a coaching standpoint to have to work in something you never had to work in as a player on when you're going to rest a guy?
Hey, in order to be an effective coach, no matter what level you're coaching at, you have to change with the times. You want your guys to be able to play as many minutes and as long as many games as they possibly can. But you have to listen to the doctors and to the trainers and whatever the feedback they're giving you. That's what you based your decision on.
So they're going to have those decisions to make. We're going to have Victor Wembanyama to watch tonight. We mentioned you were #1 overall pick. Do you remember the feelings going into your first NBA regular season game, the way he's going to go through tonight?
The big difference is he was able to play. I think he played 2 summer league games. I didn't play in the summer league when I came out. And I remember my first game was against the Philadelphia 76ers. Dr. J, I looked up to Dr. J growing up. I was a big Dr. J fan. Moses Malone was on that team. I remember getting a tip dunk. I got a tip dunk over Moses Malone. And I can remember they're blasting. The Patrick Ewing era started. But Moses, after that, I got that dunk. He went and kicked my butt the rest of the game. But I'm sure there's going to be a lot of emotions for him. This is something that he's dreamt about and worked towards. And then now the day is finally here. He has already been drafted. He was #1, and he gets to go out and play in a regular season game to try to help his Spurs repeat like Tim Duncan and David did.
So, in our sport, my son and I in football, we always talk about the biggest difference from college to the NFL is speed. Right. What is it in basketball, whether it used to be when kids could come from high school or now 1 year out of college or come from Europe, when they come to the NBA, what for you and what do you think today is the biggest difference for players when they come into the NBA?
Well, the speed is still going to be it's a big difference in terms of everybody now. They're all great athletes, so the speed, the decision making, the basketball knowledge, learning how to, also knowing how to rest and in terms of the nightlife and all that stuff. And especially when I played, most of the people I played against were all grown men. Now all of the guys that they're playing against, the league is a lot younger than when I played. So most of them, they've already seen or played against these guys growing up in AAU basketball. But I think, the speed is still there, the strength. I think that's one of the things, Wembanyama, I can't pronounce his name.
Yeah. Call him Victor.
Victor. That's the biggest thing Victor is going to have to do. He doesn't have to get bigger and stronger, but just definitely stronger to be able to withstand the grind of the 82 games and then hopefully playoffs.
As someone that made their living on the block and has seen plenty of big guys, you mentioned starting your career playing against Moses Malone, have you ever seen anything like this length that he's bringing to the party right now? If you're scouting him as an opposing player, as an opposing big man with his skill set, what does worry you the most about him?
Everything. He's 7'4". He plays like a guard. He shoots the ball like a guard. He handles it like a guard. So I think the main thing you try to do is be as physically as you can with him within the rules. Try to keep him on the perimeter, even though that's where he prefers to be. But just make him work for everything. And then you have to be able to go at him at the other end. And there's only a few other bigs in our league that can do that, which is Embiid and Jokic and Giannis.
Yeah, and Giannis, you talk about the bigs that can play away from the ball and pass extremely well. We always talk about things in sports, Patrick, that are cyclical. They're there and then they go away, but then they come back. Will the true five ever come back in the NBA?
I'm hoping that. Even though they're guys, I think the guys that are there, those names the three names that I just threw out, they could play in any era. They can be physical, they can score on the block and also on the perimeter. And my game was, I think that I scored on the block. Most of my points was on the block, but I would also, myself and Akeem, we could come off the block. We didn't shoot threes, but we came off the block and was able to face up and play on the perimeter as well.
Is there any guy among those three that you enjoy watching the most that either reminds you of parts of your game or you just appreciate the way they attack the process?
I appreciate all three of them. Jokic, he is amazing. I mean, even you look at the game last night, the first game out, he got a triple-double. Embiid is athletic and, he can score at all three of them can score at all three levels. They can put it on the floor. They can get to the hole. They can make the passes. They'll dunk on you. They'll shoot the three. I think Giannis is not the best shooter out of the three of them, but he's the things that he can do, his mindset. I love all three of them.
And so looking at we talked about the start of the season I'll go back again to our sport. It's 17 games. Each week is unbelievably important games with just 17. The NBA, it's 82, hockey 82, baseball, 162. So while the beginning of the season, obviously game number one, you're starting out and there's a lot of adrenaline going. How do you treat the beginning of the season as you lay out for an 82 game season?
Well, it's funny. Jeff Van Gundy used to always say it's a sprint, but a marathon. It's a long season, but you want to get out the block fast, and but you also have to maintain your speed. So the goal is you want to be able to win as many games as you can to set yourself up for the real season, which is the playoff. I know that the league has changed now with the in-season tournament. So, but you still want to be in position to hopefully be able to win a championship.
You mentioned the in-season tournament, some of the changes around the sport. Would that do it for you as a player? Is that the kind of thing that over the course of a long season would get you more excited or fire up your competitive juices in the way Adam Silver hopes it will?
Well, I think I didn't need that to be. I was self-motivated. I'm like everybody else. I dreamt about being at this position in my life to be able to do the things I was able to do. Basketball has afforded me a lot of great things. So I think, sometimes you have, like I said earlier, that you have to be able to adjust to what society is looking at. Also to make sure that, the load management part of the sport is creeping in, and fans are kind of tired of that. So they're trying to do different things to make sure that they keep the interest or the support of the fans. So I think that the commissioner is doing everything he possibly can to make sure that stays on course.
Interesting. You won a couple of gold medals, 84 in Los Angeles, and
Just a couple?
Just a couple, man.
Just a couple of gold medals. I know.
Oh, man. I can say that's the most fired up I've seen a little bit here.
You know what?
I said,
I
put some
apologize
respect on my gold.
I apologize because I am an Olympic freak, and to have a gold medal put around your neck, 84 in Los Angeles, then 92 in Barcelona with that incredible team. We've seen the men's side basketball, struggle in FIBA, still winning the Olympic golds, but FIBA struggle. And now LeBron and some of the top stars talking about playing. What's your thought about that, about getting the top guys back in the international play?
I think it's great. But you also, when you look at all these other countries, most of these countries are represented in the NBA. So basketball is definitely, I think ever since 92, the popularity of basketball worldwide has improved. And now you see all these great players that were in our league they're playing for these other countries. So I think that is great that our best players from the United States to be able to, represent the country and go over there and show the rest of the world what America is all about.
All right, Patrick. So I saw you went on NBA Today the other day and you inserted yourself a little bit in the GOAT debate. You said you'd be Michael Jordan out here in this era of basketball right now. I'm interested in the context of this. Why do you think you'd be so dominant in this current era?
I just think that when you look at the NBA, when I played, it was way more physical than it is this game. And it's all about offense. You got to be able to, it's free flowing. So all the physicality that I had to endure against in my era, that wouldn't happen in this era. So, I was tough. I was hard-nosed. I was going, score on the block. I was going to pop out and shoot my shot. I may not shoot the three, but if I was playing in this era, I'd probably shoot a lot more threes than I did in my era. I can remember coming when I first started, I used to shoot a lot of jump shots. Everybody's like, you're supposed to be a back to the basket guy. Why are you shooting, back to the face-up shots? But I just think that my belief in my athleticism and my work ethic, I think I'd be dominant in this era as well.
So you were trying to become the original stretch five at that point, and all those haters were keeping you with your back to the basket here.
They tried, but I snuck out there a few times.
So Patrick, you and I are the same era. I was a freshman at Notre Dame when you were a freshman at Georgetown, and take us back, because I love this. So as a freshman starting, you lead your team to the NCAA championship game against North Carolina. And I believe not only was their first shot you got called for goaltending, but 5 goaltendings, I believe, in the first half of that game. And from what I understand, that was planned, was it not, for you to do that?
Yeah, first of all, every time I see Michael, he rubs it in my face that I was never able to beat him, both in college or in the NBA. And it's ironic now I'm here working for a team that he's a part owner of. Yes, Coach Thompson told me anything that comes to the paint, your job is to erase it. So anything that came to the paint, that was my job, to erase it. Even though I thought that, which I tell everybody, that I think the refs really wanted Dean to win his first one.
There we go. Send that clip to Michael Jordan.
Mike, it was amazing watching that. I mean, just goaltending after goaltending. It was like nothing was going to go into the net. It was phenomenal.
Listen, if I could live that far above the rim, I would have too. I operated a little closer to the earth on all this. You mentioned Michael Jordan, and obviously, the sale of that team, the thing's still going through. He's going to make a lot of money off that, which is great for him. It seems like he needs even more of that. But you mentioned seeing him around the building, him ribbing you a little bit. Is he still the kind of guy that when you see him around the building is trying to get you out on the court? We hear all the time about how hyper competitive he still is. Have you seen that at all since being back in the building in Charlotte?
Oh, he's definitely one of the most competitive person that I've known. He has not tried to get me out on the basketball court, because those days are long gone for me. Now I just teach. I'm still competitive, but I'm not going to try to hurt myself, try to get back out on the floor. But no, he's definitely one of the most competitive person, and still is one of the most competitive person that I've met. And He's a great owner. He's a good friend, a great friend, and I'm happy for him that he was able to get the sale that he wanted. And the new owners, they have been nothing but spectacular since they've taken over.
And talk about the teaching aspect that you just said, because you said when you got in the league, you were playing against men.
Right.
Now they're a lot younger. So talk about that. Talk about teaching these younger players kind of the game of basketball of today.
Yeah, to me, being a coach is like being a parent. Being a parent is a coach. You're trying to develop and to instill all the knowledge that I've learned in all these years of not only playing, but also coaching, and trying to help them to be the best version of themselves that they can be. Talk to them about the things that I had to endure to get to be the level that I got to. Talking to them about, knowing your body, learning your body, getting enough sleep, getting enough fuel food to fuel that body. But all of those things goes into teaching these kids how to be the best player that they can be.
How many of the current players in the building, you mentioned how young they are, know you more as Patrick Ewing?
You know what? They have not brought that one up. I think they know me more from Space Jams than my Snicker commercial. But yeah, you got me with that one.
Well, I mean, Space Jam too. We always talk about how different and big the world of pop culture is relative to even the world of sports. That movie, kind of the crossover version of that, is that the first thing that a lot of people bring up? I'm sure around New York, it's obviously very different, or back around your alma mater, but I'd imagine that gets brought up to you as much or more than anything.
Oh, a lot. I'll be walking through the airport, and if they're not New Yorkers, then, oh, I loved you in Space Jam. I think the first Space Jam is better than the second. But no, they definitely bring that up a significant amount when people see me walking through the airport.
So which would you choose, back in Georgetown, the high tight shorts, or in New York when you got to wear some of the baggy shorts?
Back then, I was a young man at Georgetown. I had some great legs. So I think, and like you were talking about earlier, things come in full circle. So in college, it was the tight shorts. Now and then it went to the baggy shorts. Now it's going back the other way. All these kids they love these short shorts again.
We only got about a minute left, Patrick. What is the strangest thing that you've seen the players in this day and age liking or obsessing over that you just could never have thought of when you were playing the game?
All these kids and everyone in this Instagram, Twitter, all these things, I wouldn't dream of all the things that they do and watch on Twitter and Instagram. And, that's the way of the world now.
Have any of them asked you to be in a TikTok yet?
No, my daughters do. They always trying to get. I'm like, no, if you don't turn that camera off, we're gonna have a problem.
Yeah, listen, the players would have their phone on the floor if they could while they were playing. It's just amazing.
Oh my God! All right, so we're not going to see Patrick Ewing anytime in a TikTok here soon, but glad we got to see him. We'll keep our eyes out here on the timeline. Yes, we will. Patrick, thank you so much for the time this morning. We really appreciate it. Enjoy the season, and hopefully we'll get to talk to you again soon.
I'm looking forward to that, and I appreciate that.
Thanks, Patrick. Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
I'm not gonna lie. Listen, the Patrick Ewing commercial was a staple of my young adult life here. Getting dunked on by Patrick Ewing would have been an honor.
Doing that and Space Jam, but I love seeing the players back in that era coaching players of today, because the game certainly is different. And as he said, you have to adapt to the game of today.
Well, I mean, God, he was coaching college kids, so this has to feel like now you've got kids that age who are now also millionaires, which is a different set of things that come up all together. But having to coach college kids, I'm sure an eye-opening experience in all of this for the great Patrick Ewing.
All right, we got some news now. Am I hearing the echo?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're hearing that echo too.
We're hearing that echo.
We'll take it
I was
away.
like, I didn't know if that was me screwing something up.
You sound like you're inside of a well.
Yeah, I gotta mute my Zoom.
I'm worried about
There
it.
That
we
was
go.
on me. That was on me. I'll take it.
You were
I'll
getting
take
ready
it.
to throw the producers. And the
No, I
technical
was
people
not.
under the
No, I
bus,
was
weren't
not.
you?
I have to be able to let people know why I look a little discombobulated because my brain is not strong enough to when I'm hearing myself like in my ear and still communicate with you guys. Because I'm
Can I
sitting.
say this? Your brain might have been discombobulated. You look great right now,
You do.
Emerson. Like the beards on this show are absolutely lethal. You're smoldering, buddy.
Yeah, there are reports that I look like Hugh Jackman, especially with my shirt off, Michael.
Ooh.
Oh,
okay.
wow.
What's them claws out there, Big Pop?
Yeah. There are also reports now that Will Levis appears likely to make his NFL debut on Sunday. Guys, Titans have been super busy, right? They shipped off buyers to Philadelphia, which, by the way, find somebody who like pumps you up, builds you up like the Titans do with the Eagles. Titans, I can confirm, Philadelphia Eagles fans. So the Titans here preparing for Levis to start Sunday against the Falcons with starter Ryan Tannehill dealing with an ankle injury. That's according to Ian Rappaport of the NFL Network. Yeah?
Yeah, so they said that Ryan Tannehill no longer has like any assistance in walking, so he's getting closer. And we saw it, Dad. It was so fascinating with this situation. Malik Willis, we saw in the preseason, look a lot better than he had in prior years. Felt like he had made some progress. But then when Ryan Tannehill got injured and he went into the game, it was a bunch of red zone sacks. He was a guy that still looked like the game was a little too sped up for him. And we all wondered when they were finally going to break glass on Will Levis, a guy who everyone thought was going to get picked a lot sooner than he did in the draft coming out of Kentucky. And now we're going to get a look at that as the Titans appear at a crossroad. Emerson mentioned Kevin Byard now heading up to the Philadelphia Eagles. The Titans farm system for Philadelphia appears robust still, Dad. Has Howie Roseman taken over for Bill Belichick as the NFL figure most people trust anytime they see a decision to know it's going to be a good one? Because right now he seems to be batting 1,000 in recent years.
Yeah, he does. Listen, he's hitting it on his draft picks. There's no doubt about it. So you kind of look at direction he's going, and I just in covering the Eagles in the Miami game, the secondary for Philadelphia, outside of a couple guys being out, but guys that are playing injured, they have been decimated with injuries. So getting Byard in there, I think is a good move for them. But it also leads to where is Tennessee going here? And when I say where is Tennessee going, I'm thinking of their big guy. Do they trade Derrick Henry? Is he a guy? The last year of his deal, right? So you get something for him now and kind of start to rebuild as the Will Levis era may be starting here. Or do you're starting over right now? And is King Henry would he be on his way?
Yeah, I think that one goes to who do you think would be in need enough to want to spend on a running back, giving up any sort of capital during the season right now. The Buffalo Bills immediately jump to mind as a team in contention who could certainly use some help in their running game. Not necessarily a run scheme overall that you would associate with Derrick Henry, but I'm pretty confident in him making most things work.
Yeah, well, especially, Mike, when it gets to the playoffs, is you can start to get that running game to control the ball. If you start to play in some cold weather and can run the ball, that's huge. So I'm really going to be interested if someone would do that and be a rental for this year, and then maybe sign him, or what happens after this year with him, because we know the running back salaries are not great by any stretch of the imagination. But this guy in the playoffs, what a running attack can do in the playoffs is huge. So you really wonder if this is the guy that'll be on the move.
How about the Ravens? The Ravens as a spot for Derrick Henry?
Boy, let me tell you what, just aesthetically,
wow.
Getting Derrick Henry wearing Ravens purple and black,
that's kind of hot.
With that murdered out visor would be one of the coolest things that could happen to the NFL. That is a team. Now, Gus Edwards has done pretty well for them, but their running back room has traditionally, over the last couple of years, been pretty banged up. And so while they've got him and Justice Hill back there, Dad, that would be the coolest outcome. And for Derrick Henry, how awesome to be. They've been a playoff team since he's been in Tennessee, largely because of his doing. They were the 1 seed a couple of years ago, which seems like an eternity ago. But I would root hard for Derrick Henry to be in a Baltimore Ravens jersey.
He would be in the team picture of guys that remember the days in high school who you wanted to send your biggest, strongest guy first off the bus. You
put him on the media guide.
I mean, you just watch him, give him a tight little T-shirt and walk off the bus, man, and just be like, yeah, this is our running back. Yeah, this is the guy that's going to be carrying the ball you're going to be trying to tackle. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy now when he runs that it's going through everybody's mind, especially when he's running outside. I got to watch out for his stiff arm. I have to juke his stiff arm. I can't get stiff arm by him because I am just going to end up on the other side of a poster or a top 10 highlight that guys are actually thinking about that when they're going to tackle him.
Because you look at the rushing yard number, and I believe Baltimore's second in the league in rushing yards, but they plummet to 21 in the league if you take away Lamar Jackson's near 400 yards on the ground at this point.
Yeah.
He'd be incredible. I mean, listen, if my God, it'd be so interesting, and I don't know why I just thought of this, or even if it's feasible or what, but Minnesota, we're talking about an interesting juncture where they're in the last year of Kirk Cousins. They're a team that after this week, people are going to start to wonder what the future of their season looks like. The trade deadline coming up next week complicates this a little bit because you'd have to make this decision now. Yeah. But they'd be a fascinating one if that season had gone off the rails. Dalvin Cook, they let walk this offseason. He gets out of there. Alexander Madison been doing pretty well in that room. So we'll wait and see what happens with Derrick Henry. It's going to be very, very interesting. Dad, do you think ultimately by the time we get to trade deadlines Halloween next week, do you think Derrick Henry is still a member of the Titans after that date?
I actually do. I still get kind of by the football trade deadline, even though we saw McCaffrey and we saw Hawkinson, what they've done for their new teams, even right after the trade. It's still a day that I don't usually think a ton happens, but maybe more. I'll say no, though. To answer your question, I'll say no.
I'll say no, too. I think ultimately he's still such a part of the identity of that team. And as you're getting ready to go through a change, right? Mike Vrabel's not going to be going anywhere. He's still going to be the head coach of your team. You're trying now to figure out, you're at the portion of your season that's now the experiment. You're trying to figure out exactly what you bought in Will Levis and what you're going to get. And Dad, among the sea of young quarterbacks that we've had hit the field so far this season, Anthony Richardson for the Colts now on IR for the rest of the year. I saw yesterday he had successful surgery, so congratulations, and we wish him a speedy recovery from that shoulder injury. We've seen Bryce Young and the Carolina Panthers struggle mightily because of a lack of weapons, and we've seen C.J. Stroud thrive amidst the Houston Texans turnaround this season. I think Will Levis is unfortunately going to be closer to the Bryce Young side of things. There just aren't a ton of weapons in that Tennessee offense. They've been revamping their offensive line this season, and he's a guy that's much closer to the Anthony Richardson side of things in terms of development needed at this level. He had the great junior season under Liam Cohen, the offensive coordinator that was a part of that McVay-Shanahan coaching tree in the NFL that was his OC. They got the best out of him in that year at Kentucky, but I think, the processing speed, doing things in real time, he's a guy that's a viable threat with his legs, but not as overall athletic as Anthony Richardson. So there's some limitations at this level that I'm interested to see him work through.
Well, listen, his best friend's going to be Derrick Henry. I mean, without a doubt. You're going to need that successful running game because if he can run any kind of play action off of it and buy himself an extra half a second to a second, that's only going to help him. So that's how they're going to have to work that one because you're right. I mean, DeAndre Hopkins is there. He leads them in receptions, but at this point, it's not the DeAndre Hopkins we're used to seeing. So they do not overall, I agree with you, have that receiving core that's really going to help him out. That's why they're going to lean on that running game and play action and probably short passes.
If anyone can certainly make the best out of the situation, it is Mike Vrabel. He's the NFL's MacGyver. He has stepped up into that mantle of Mike Tomlin and somehow always finding his way into the postseason. So I'm going to be fascinated how he plays this right now. Will Levis, tough, gritty kid. I'm sure going to go out and give everything in that regard. But now begins the portion of the season we've been wondering when it was going to happen for the Tennessee Titans and when is right now as Will Levis is going to get set to be the starter this weekend. Coming up next, though, we got to get to a list right now. The Cheesecake Factory got slandered last week on this show, and more have joined the ranks next. All right, welcome back to GoJo and Golic. Mike Golic Jr., Mike Golic Sr., Emerson Latzia here holding it down in the DraftKings studio. And we got to get to this damn list. So I forget if it was last week or the week before, we had the viral TikTok video of a woman shaming a man that she was going out on a date with because he took her to the Cheesecake Factory. Now, since then, we learned that that wasn't the actual place they were supposed to go on a date and that she had made them late for the original date, and so Guy had to pivot on the fly. But in general, it sparked this debate over what was kosher for a first date setting. And we all rushed to the defense of the Cheesecake Factory because despite their menu that's longer than most NFL offensive coordinator call sheets, it's still a wonderful and fertile ground for love, for friendship, for all the above. Apparently, a group of women came together to put together a list of places that women absolutely refuse to go on a first date to and put it out on the internet. Now, as you can imagine, coming off this controversy, the Cheesecake Factory is the headliner on this list. But, Dad, I want to read you a few of the other highlights on this, get your reaction, and then actually get to the few places on this list that I agree would be a terrible first date option here. They've got number 1, the Cheesecake Factory. Number 2, Applebee's. Number 3, Chili's. Number 4, Chipotle. Number 5, the Olive Garden. And then we start to get to more interesting ones.
Right.
Number 6 is the movies. Number 7 is Your House. We go down to number 15, the gym. Number 16, church. 19, ice cream dates. 21, movie night. 22, somewhere that requires a long drive. And this one, to me, one of the more baseless slanderings, bowling at 23. Getting caught up in all of this. Dad, you're obviously someone who is, 30 plus years into a successful first date turned into a lifelong marriage.
Yep.
When you see this list, remembering back to when you were in the game, trying to take a young lady out there and be chivalrous here, do you actually agree that there's some credence to this list and the idea that certain places aren't a good choice for a first date?
A lot of it is your resources, right?
Okay.
I mean, in high school, I didn't go out on a lot of dates, but I was basically a lifeguard. When I first became a lifeguard at 16, I made $2.34 an hour. I mean, so it's not like I had a lot of money. And at Notre Dame, no NIL. My parent, if we didn't have scholarships, we wouldn't have been going to Notre Dame. So I think a lot has to do with your resources. I would agree on like fast food places. That probably, but I'm not gonna completely say no, because again, if your means don't let you go to a highfalutin place, then so be it.
I want to say this. I want to make all things equal when it comes to means, because I think we understand that as the caveat that obviously everybody's financial situation is different, and that should not preclude you from finding love or experiencing joy, and you can make plenty of great memories on a budget. There is no doubt about that. But for the sake of this argument, Emerson, I want to make finances a thing that's equal in this situation and go forward from there. You are also a successfully married man here, and much more recently. So I'm curious what you think about this.
About the list. Yeah, well, immediately my first date with Meg was number 7 on this list, which was my house, which was my apartment. Back, yeah, dude, you know what I did? I said, you want to come over? And we put on the movie Wall-E, okay? Very emotional. It's great. Wow. And we made homemade pizzas. All right?
Okay.
It was excellent, and it worked out. Everything worked out.
Because a movie is usually not a place to go because you can't talk. But if the movie's at your house,
bingo, baby.
Certainly can,
pop in the DVD, smell the pizzas.
Really good. Yeah, that's a good first date.
I think that this list, when it says your house, it really does sleep on the fact that I feel like one of the best date things you can do is either cook for that person or cook together. A little shared activity. Everybody loves getting in the kitchen. Well, not everybody, but a lot of people love that. So, Emerson, good on you.
Thank you.
That is good on you. And I have to think, and remember, this is a first date, so how much do you know about a person? Like the gym, you would have to know. And nowadays, everybody has a profile on whatever. You both are into lifting, then I could see a gym.
No, dude, you still don't do it.
I can't see the gym. That's actually one of the ones on this
can't
list
either.
I agree is a stupid first date idea.
I'm
going
with you.
to the gym. Even if you're both into that, at the gym, it's not like let's put it this way. If you're the kind of person that would in theory, like a gym date, you're probably about your business when you go into the gym. And the number one thing that bothers people that are about their business when they go into the gym is people standing and talking and bogarting machines by having conversations or flipping through their phone instead of getting to the action. That seems like an L to me.
Yeah, I'm with you. It would not be the gym at all. The great thing about your mother, Mike, is if it was around at Notre Dame, she would have gone, and we would have enjoyed the Waffle House. Without even the blink of an eye. We would have enjoyed the Waffle House. We would have enjoyed IHOP. Let me ask you both this. Say it's a restaurant, okay? You take them out to dinner somewhere. And I have zero issue with Cheesecake Factory, Applebee's, Chili's. Those are fine. These women that made this list, I mean, seriously, I'm glad I'm not in the dating scene today because, oh, my God. I mean, it's some of these are places are just fine. Now, you're at a food place. The bill comes. The expectation is you're going to pay for it. Can you pull out a gift card?
On a date, I think so.
It's
again,
they're being taken care of.
Gift card. I got a coupon for 10%, off, or I got a gift card.
No, that's different. You're not going to Bed Bath & Beyond using like the traditional 20% off thing. Like,
I mean, what you know?
Hey, man.
What can you do that? Or what does that look like? So
absolutely.
The place,
I think so.
You can really. Okay.
So here's how you do it. You have your credit card and you have it stacked on top of the gift card because typically you can't really tip on the gift card.
So you're trying to hide it then.
Bingo.
So you're trying to disguise the coupon the way you would hide condoms coming out of CVS under a bunch of magazines.
Okay.
You've got always an old lady at the checkout counter. It's always an old lady.
I'm saying you don't hide it. I'm saying you proudly display. Here is my gift card for this, IHOP combo breakfast, You know what? I think, Dad, to your point there, and all of the ideas around this dating thing is about trying to find information. You're like a coordinator in a football game, throwing jabs early on, trying to see what your opponent's going to give you. And that gift card would be a good way of, all right, are we together on this? And, is this a woman that would stand a frugal king? Are we going to both approach this saying, yeah, of course, if I've got the means to save money on this, why wouldn't I? Just like I had the initial reaction, I thought church would be a bad first date because a lot like a movie, you don't really get a ton of chance for interaction. Brandon pointed out that the church that I would go to in a white church might be a little bit different than going to a different church on that and the experience that we both have in that. But at the same time, Emerson, you brought up you could learn a lot about someone there. How do they approach it? Are they someone that sings in mass? Are they dialed in right now? Are they talking? Are they looking at their phone? You could get a lot of information about that situation. I still don't think it's a good first date, but I think all of these viewed through the lens of what am I going to learn about my prospective partner at this date? The coupon works right into that.
Mm-hmm. I agree. You can learn a lot about somebody in church. You can learn a lot about somebody at the gym. How much does she lift? How does she look when she is sweaty?
So I want to know what you guys think is the worst one and the best one. The best one to me on this list is bowling. I think that's awesome. I think that's an awesome first date.
You notice how laser tag is not on this list.
Is that something you usually go to with two people or a group, though? Don't you go with usually a group?
I mean, you could do two. Again, you could learn a lot about someone, see if they know like where to hide, like
how to shoot. Do you want to know if they know how to shoot?
Take down the little 12-year-olds.
I'm looking for a life partner who can be a ready and valuable asset during the impending zombie apocalypse. And what better place to learn that than in a dark, clouded laser tag arena?
Everything, when I stayed at Mike's place when I was doing a game out there, and I'm doing it again, everything around his house was about the friggin' apocalypse. So quickly, which thing on this list you completely agree with that said no way a first date would I go to this? I've never been to a hookah bar, so I have no idea.
I was going to say, I wouldn't go to a hookah bar because every time I've gone, I've regretted it the next day. It's always, I always smell terrible and feel worse, so I'd be out on that one.
Okay.
I wouldn't do a nightclub. I'm just not a nightclub person.
I'm not either. I agree.
Too loud, my ears hurt, whatever. But big picture, guys, if this is her list, I'm sorry, she just doesn't like you.
That is true. At some point, and it's all about presentation here, everybody. I understand the idea, and Jessie brought this up when she was on with us. It's about the effort you're putting into this. You can still have the end goal be getting yourself to a Red Lobster, but the presentation and the effort you put into that before you get to those Cheddar Bay biscuits, that is the real secret sauce here, ladies and gentlemen. You can find love in a Waffle House place.
Hell yeah.
Welcome back to GoJo and Golic. Mike Golic Jr., Mike Golic Sr., Emerson Latzia here. We are going to finish off the day with this, that, and the third, the way we always do. 3 quick stories to send you off into your day. But as always, make sure you download, subscribe, rate, review, and leave us that 5-star rating. And if you missed any of our wonderful guests, we had a Wilder Wednesday in the first hour of the show. Our great friend Charlotte Wilder. Make sure you download and check out Oddball with her and Amin El Hassan. We had Eli Drinkwitz, the head coach of the Missouri Tigers right now, 7-1, second place in the SEC East, out here balling. Talked to him about all the sign stealing going on in college football as well. And then Patrick Ewing, a.k.a. Patrick Ewing, came over and dunked on us. Also, if you missed any of that, available wherever you get your podcast, and you can check it out on the DraftKings YouTube channel right here after the show is done at 10 o'clock Eastern. Guys, let's get to this, that, and the third, and let's start off with a very important update we talked about on this show. Christopher Mad Dog Russo went on air the other day and said that if the Diamondbacks won 2 straight against the Phillies, he would retire. And obviously, we all assumed that he was going to balk on that. And sure enough, he did, and instead went on the Howard Stern show and announced that instead of retiring, so tell me what you guys think about this, Dad. Instead of retiring, Mad Dog is going to wear a Diamondbacks bikini, walk through the streets of New York wearing a sign that says liar and dope. So they're essentially going to give him the Game of Thrones shame treatment.
Yeah. Well, didn't you do this? Didn't you have to walk with a sign in Chicago?
I did, but not in a bikini. So that seems to be, but yes, I had to go wear a sign on a street corner when I lost a bet to my friend Kelsey. So yes, that did happen.
So, yeah. So, I mean, that's what it should have been in the first place. I mean, everybody knew he wasn't going to retire. That's why I said you get the ones that say, I'll walk from city to city, or I'll wear a sign or do something stupid like that. This is more along the lines of something you would expect. I would never make a bet like this or do this. I mean, I did this once to the, no, I
you
said,
would never make,
no, whoa.
You would never make a bet like this.
Yeah, hold it. I said now I wouldn't. The Kim Kardashian lookalike photo was years ago. Now I wouldn't be doing it.
So you were a grown-ass man then and did it, and now that you actually are like in better shape, you wouldn't do it? That's what you're telling us?
That's a good point.
This is still a sign of growth.
That is true.
Still a sign of growth.
Don't get me wrong. I'm happy that you wouldn't do this. I just wish you also would have thought about that back then, because it still haunts me to this day.
I didn't think it would happen. I didn't think Northwestern would be Notre Dame, and Doggy didn't think that, Arizona. Nobody did. We all thought Phillies were going to win that one.
How many gummies do you think Mad Dog's going to take, Emerson, before he gets in this bikini and walks out into the streets?
Yeah, it's going to be one of those where it's like, I don't think these edibles are really working. And then it's like 20 minutes later, he's like pulling the string on the top of his bikini. He's like, it's hot.
You like what you see here, boys? No.
You know what? Sexy Mad Dog is not something that I had as a character being unlocked going into today, but here we are.
What a way to grab the headlines, though, right? They say don't make yourself the story, but every now and then you make yourself the story, and you're going to get a whole lot of clicks.
Now, this is just, he's a fraud. He's a fraud. He shouldn't have said he was going to retire if he wasn't going to do it. Yeah. That's it.
He went too far with that.
He did. It's like, come on. Yes, you nailed it. Just go ahead and say, I'll stand naked with like a bow.
We all know you're not going to retire. Why? As soon as you said it, we knew that wasn't true. Give us something we could hang on to that we could look forward to, because we knew it wasn't going to be your retirement.
Totally.
I will still campaign for McRib protocol. More people need to retire, take a healthy hiatus, and then announce their return at a specific date for a limited time only, and then bring it back full time. It is a tried and true tactic we've watched fast food restaurants do forever. Athletes have even emulated it to some extent, and I believe that sports talk media pundits can also bring a part of the McRib protocol into their lifestyle. Speaking of stuff going on in New York, Emerson, let's get to that. We've got the rare good thing happening on the Long Island Railroad.
So how about this? So rail workers in New York were able to reunite a relieved passenger with her lost backpack containing $12,000 in cash. Julie Barton said that she boarded a Long Island Railroad train, transferred trains, and eventually arrived at her destination when she realized she no longer had the bag containing her cash.
Well, I mean, the first thing you think about is she's relieved because, her drug runner's not going to,
I was going to say,
I mean, 12 grand in cash
to raid her home now?
Yeah, I mean, seriously. She's like, whew, I could deliver the drug money. I mean, so what would you do? So what would you do if you find a bag with a bunch of cash, like $12,000? I'd find the owner and I'd say, "Here's your bag," and there was $5,000 in it.
Yeah, I like what's the most you would keep without finding the owner here?
Again, we just said the quiet part loud.
Yes.
If someone's got a backpack with $12,000 in cash,
they're getting the whole
You know
amount
what
back.
problems I don't want? Are from the person who's got 12 grand in cash on their person, because walking around without that kind of fear or out of necessity of carrying that kind of cash means you're connected to some things that I potentially don't want to find out about. So no, I would hand back every cent of that. I might even kick in a few more dollars for their trouble. Hell, I'll get on their good side.
I'm keeping it. I don't care how much is in the bag. I'm keeping the money.
Really?
I am dead serious. Yes, I'm keeping it.
Because then
Especially
all
cash.
of a sudden the cameras that are everywhere will find it and they'll see that you got it, and the person that person's connected to will find out that you have it. Then all of a sudden you're looking over your shoulder.
No, what I would do, I would double check and make sure there's not like a tracker in there or anything, because then they'll come to my house, they'll steal my dogs. No, the cameras.
There's cameras everywhere. They're gonna see you.
No, dude, not on the streets of New York, bro. All right.
Really?
Yeah, I could blend in. I blend in. A lot of people with backpacks, bud.
Wow.
I just want to know what Michigan football opponent Julie Barton was on her way to scout with all this money that she had gotten from Connor Stallions. How many Michigan football tickets can $12,000 in cash buy? See, that would be if Connor Stallions had people muling money to buy these tickets in person with burner phones, I would have a lot more faith in the Marines based on the showing that they've had during this ordeal. Need to be better at covering up if you're going to do the crimes like this. Connor Stallions in Michigan got lazy. Thankfully, the Good Samaritan on board the Long Island Railroad didn't think like Emerson and pocket that cash. So
yeah, because I'm with you, Mike. I'm with you. I'm not dealing with those problems.
Nope, not dealing with those
cowards.
Emerson, let's get to the third and celebrate one of the best good boys of
Good
our
old
times.
Bobby, the world's oldest and possibly luckiest known dog, has died. He was 31. So
31.
Guinness World Records reporting Bobby, who lived with his human family in the rural village of, I don't know, somewhere in Portugal, died over the weekend. The family's home about 93 miles north of Lisbon, the country's capital. So he was a purebred Rifero do Alentejo. I have not heard of this type of dog before. It's a farm and watchdog breed known for its confidence and calm demeanor, per the American Kennel Club, just like pugs, is what I'm told.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, my God, speaking of the devil.
To live forever and never die, because if he does, I will throw myself into traffic.
So here's the thing. Bobby was born May 11th, 1992. Mike, and I'm talking junior here, you were 2 years, 7 months, and 13 days old when this dog was born.
Yeah, that dog is my peer. Honestly, the fact that science is focused on so many things and Congress is always worried about college football, and we haven't been spending all of our resources on making dogs live forever. Because I understand this idea that endings give life meaning and all those things that we do to try and, basically make ourselves feel better about the fact that we're all going to die at some point. That shouldn't apply to dogs. They shouldn't have to deal with that. It should be dogs living for as long as we can physically make it happen.
This is Hank here. Hank is going to be 13 in December, and he's doing great. But the greatest line I've ever heard is, dogs are a part, are with us for a part of our lives. Mm-hmm. We're with dogs for their entire lives, and God, I don't want to know people that don't love dogs.
He looked at you when you said that. That was freaking beautiful.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you, his head just moved like that. Hank can't see a damn thing. But
he's like, who's holding me?
He's got eyes, but I don't think either of them work right now. He's
the man.
Yeah, he's just hanging out right there. Hank's a real good dude. Hank,
but
Harry and Ted off screen too.
Study Bobby's DNA. I'm dead serious. Like, study it, and if I could get my dog to live 3 decades, let's freaking go, man.
Would be the best thing ever.
Amen, dude. And Bobby looked good up until the day he passed.
He did.
He looked good.
Yeah, the pictures of Bobby are really heartwarming there, but we need the Bobby the Dog super serum to give to the rest of the dogging community. Because a dog making it long enough to start to have anxiety and social dread is exactly what we need. Thanks so much. Hug your dog. We'll talk to you tomorrow.